Okay, so moving on to the next item, which is the appointment of the governing body representative to the Forestry Liaison Group. Now, I've not been inundated with people wanting to put their names forward. I did ask Councillor Sayers. I thought he is a local body representative with a lot of forestry in his area. You're not keen on this one, Councillor Sayers?
Well, I think I got asked by a note passed around to me this morning, Madam Chair, but I just want to keep that opportunity open for a councillor who, or if there are any other councillors that might have a little bit more technical knowledge than I do in that area, maybe a little bit more of a political, oversight or ambition in that area, and and also think about the continuity of knowledge, Madam Chair, through that as well.
Okay,
So I'd just be interested to know if there were any other councillors interested in looking. I know that there'll certainly be 2 representatives from the Rodney Local Board on that liaison group.
I wonder, Councillor Casey, would you like to do that? I just thought we might mix it up a little bit and actually have a woman do this. I don't think we often get women representing us on anything like this. So, councillors, is there a
Chair,
who's keen?
I'll volunteer.
Councillor
If
Cooper, that's
nobody else, I think it's
awesome.
important. I mean,
It is. I think it's an important one. Councillor Cooper, and would someone like to be Councillor Cooper's alternate on that? Councillor Quacks.
Fantastic.
Who's now Councillor Quacks and Councillor Todd. Well done. I'm happy to move those 2, Councillor Cooper and Councillor Quacks. No problems.
second that.
Good. Thank you. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Excellent. Now, the James Wallace, I've had Councillor Clow nominated to do
I'll second.
that, and Councillor Casey is going to move, and Councillor Cooper will second. Any discussion?
Yep.
Councillor Casey?
Yeah, I was the member of that joint liaison body, and I was actually the deputy chair with Sir James. I came off of it because of the Liston Village issue. I felt there might be a conflict of interest because my need is for Liston Village to stay, whereas the TSB James Wallace Arts Trust would support the grander entrance. So rather than it was easier to come off. So I think Councillor Clow's been doing a great job, and I fully endorse his continuation.
It was
on
done
the
at the Arts Committee.
Madam Chair, does it need an alternate if it's only one person?
In your experience, does it need an alternate? No?
No.
Good. Done. I'll put that. Oh, hang on. Yes, no, we have moved and seconded. I moved. Councillor Casey moved. Councillor Cooper seconded. Councillor Clow, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. The next item is item number 23, which is our information report. Now, councillors and members, I do apologise. We did have a little change of process with this. The appointment to the council's weed management political advisory group is part of the information reports because the mayor had put forward his recommendations, and this was for our information. I'm going to suggest, given the points made by Hannah Blackmore, which, many of which I think need some time to be unpacked, I'm going to suggest that the first meeting of the group, seeing we've got 6 councillors, 6 local board members and our IMSB members, that we actually have a good thrash around of some of those issues that Hannah raised with us. The mayor's made it clear that he's happy with the 6 councillors and the additional 4 local board members. So we've got 6 local board members, and that's the process as we see it. Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. I'd just like to put on the record that I take an outstanding interest in this issue. I led out the weed management policy with Councillor Coney in a previous term. It's of some concern that there was no approach to myself. I would have at least provided some continuity from the previous political governance group. If you make an assessment around matters to do with expertise, continuity, a range of things, I would have thought that somebody would have at least had the good grace to ask me. I didn't put myself forward for the Forestry Liaison Committee, which is an item that has had some political input around this table, as much and all as I might have some expertise in that area. I've got far more around the issues of weed management and an abiding interest. So I'd certainly put my name forward now. It's also of concern that this is a group that obviously deals with weeds across parks, many of which are within local boards, and the representation on the part of local boards is, frankly, woefully inadequate. So I've got some very real concerns around how this process has been conducted, and I don't think it's sufficient just to put it off to the group itself. It really is a matter for a committee of council such as this to consider.
Okay. So the process that we adopted, which was in the was agreed to by the previous council, was that the mayor would appoint. The mayor has appointed. He's done it on a geographic basis, and for your part, for your area, Councillor Watson was put forward. I guess if you wanted to swap with Councillor Watson, I guess that might be acceptable to the mayor, but he's really clear that he's happy with the names that have been put forward. They've been carefully selected, and he's not prepared to change.
Just by way of response, I do note that there's often the refrain that we're elected as councillors for Auckland. Councillors for Auckland. There is the matter of geography, but I'm putting myself forward as a councillor for Auckland. I grew up in various parts of Auckland, went to work in various parts of Auckland. I might happen to abide and be elected from a given ward, but I'm actually elected, and I swear an oath, to Auckland. So I put that on the table. And frankly, I think that we need to grapple with some of these issues from a governance perspective. Otherwise, we succumb to appointing patsy committees and, frankly, not addressing matters that go to accountability, responsibility, authority, good governance, and I could go on. This is a group that many people in Auckland take an interest in, of which I'm one, and I have an interest, and I'm putting that interest on the table to this committee.
Okay. Remember, this is just a for information item, and that might be an issue you might like to take up with the mayor.
I'll certainly do that.
I just want to make it clear that Councillor Stewart has kindly agreed, so she's on the list, and she's very kindly agreed to keep her name on that list. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been listening to Councillor Walker, and I just wanted to know about the sort of terms of reference. Is any councillor able to turn up to the meeting and input, even if they're not on the sort of decision-making political working party? Is that how it works, or is it just those people and nobody else?
I think probably in the first instance, given that it's sort of an expanding group, I think it would be really good if we could just get that working party as it is underway, and and get on with it. There's an awful lot of going round and round in circles, and this is a new term of council. I've led, well, exactly, councillor. I led housing. We've got the Mayor's Housing Task Force set up. I'm not on that. We move on, and so that's just how life is. Councillor Cashmore.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. And this is always going to be a little bit problematic. I think what's important is this working party is iterative. It will start, I would imagine, getting some consensus, getting some ideas, testing some thoughts with our local board colleagues, and then progressing forward. And it may want to include greater representation from the community or the interested parties or other councillors. I wouldn't stress about it just yet.
No. Okay, so that's good. It's a for information item. I think anyone else? Oh, yep. Councillor Watson.
Yeah, thank you. And just a general comment to begin with, and not necessarily applying specifically to this item, but every so often appointments like this come along for a number of areas, and we all know that there's councillors around here who have a degree of expertise or interest or passion in things, and I think the practice in the past certainly has been to accommodate those individuals, whether we agree with their stance or not. I know I certainly am. So if someone takes an interest and it means something to them, I'm more than happy to see that person appointed, because I think we need to utilise our expertise, and we've all got it in some shape or form in some area. So I know you mentioned my name there, Madam Chair, and certainly I know from my working with Councillor Walker that if anyone has got an expertise or a passion in this interest, it's him. So if push comes to shove, I certainly will defer to him. I have that similar interest, I must admit. I've taken a real interest in it. But I think it's important to involve council, no matter what their ilk as far as pro or anti or whatever, because that's the representation of the public interest or input that's often missing. So if it does come to it, I will defer to him, because I know that if anyone should be on it, it should be him. And I would suspect most people sitting around this table know that. Thank you.
Okay, and I think that's a good discussion for you to have with Mayor Goff. Councillor Casey.
It's a shame the Mayor's not here, because I would quite like to have said this to him. It can only be read as a punishment not to have Wayne Walker on this committee.
Councillor, hang on. Councillor, the Mayor's not here.
No,
He's
I would have
asked,
said it to him if he'd been here, though.
I know, but he's not here, so it's preferable
One of
not
the
to
best
imply
things you
anything.
can do if you want to promote issues is to match people's passions with the issue. There's absolutely no question, if you asked all of us in the room who has been the most passionate about weed control, weed management, it's Wayne Walker. And for him not to be on this, the only message it's giving him is he's been a bad lad and we don't want you anymore. And I'm really sorry about that. And I know it's an information item, but I would like to move that the Mayor considers Wayne Walker as an appointment to this working party. We can do that.
I'll second that.
We can do that.
Hang on. We can't at
can.
this stage,
We can.
but I think what we've had is that Councillor Walker and Councillor Watson will take this up with the Mayor, and I think that's entirely appropriate. So I think that's good.
I can move that.
And I will second
Councillor,
Madam Chair.
we haven't got, this is not an actual item, so it's a for information item. We don't have, it's not an
This
item we're
issue
being
is
asked
important to the
to make
whole
a
of
decision
Auckland,
on.
as you heard Councillor Walker say.
Yes, it is.
And I didn't know that the Mayor was making these appointments. I didn't know that until I saw this.
So I think it's entirely, we just need to breathe through this. If Councillor Watson and Councillor Walker have undertaken to resolve this with the Mayor's office, I think that's a really good way forward.
I think that as a committee, we can give the Mayor a message, that is that we would like Wayne Walker to be a member of that. It's just that it's an in-principle thing. He can say, no, I'm in charge here, or he can say, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's been made clear. I think we'll leave it to the councillors to talk that through with him.
So
and
what
if anyone
standing
wishes,
order are you using not to accept my amendment?
Well, Councillor, it isn't actually on an agenda item, so,
I didn't get a chance to input into whatever this decision was, though. This is the only chance we've had to have a discussion about it.
It's also Chair's discretion.
Mayor's decision.
it is the Mayor's
Just be
decision.
inclusive.
Mayor's decision.
Okay. Councillor Newman.
Oh, Madam Chair, I just want to seek clarification from you. I understood that the For Information report, the second bullet point under para 3, includes the appointments to the Weed Management Advisory Group, whatever, of which I'm not interested in being part of, but I commend those who are, including and Councillor Walker, who has expressed an interest in it. But if para 3 bullet point 2 addresses this particular group, is it possible for the recommendation to be amended to say, receive the information report and request that the Mayor give consideration to?
Yeah.
Just to try and tie this off, because otherwise I fear that we're going to spend 10 minutes going round in circles on this.
It would be the first time we've gone round and round in circles. I mean, I'm happy to meet with the Mayor, with Councillor Walker and Councillor Watson, and share the discussion that we've had. I don't know whether a recommendation is going to make a blind bit of difference. The critical thing is that if the meeting is of a mind to say to the mayor, can we have one or both of those councillors, that's the discussion that needs to happen with the mayor. I think a debate around whether we have a recommendation or not is actually a waste of our time. We can make it known to him that that's what we've discussed, and it's up to him to work out how he wants to do. Mr Deputy Mayor,
Just say
do
that-
you have wisdom on
As I
this?
said, the chair is giving an undertaking to approach the mayor with councillor Walker and councillor Watson to canvass this issue. Boom.
Done. Councillor Collins.
Sorry to add to this, I'm not actually convinced that that's the way forward, because from what I was hearing from councillor Watson, he was saying if push comes to shove, and I don't know that that's necessarily him saying I'll happily vacate. And so I guess what I'm saying is I would support either a much more generic approach to the discussion, or the recommendation that councillor Newman is making, just so that it's clear that councillor Watson isn't saying, yeah, okay, if it's not me, it'll be councillor Walker. I don't know that that's where that part of the discussion sits.
Open discussion.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I'm not making any recommendation. I'm just,
I am.
I observed that councillor
We've been
Casey
at
did,
the
and I
Walker
think
Corner.
that just needs to be tied off, but it's up to you, Madam
I
Chair.
sorry, I think this is just getting really messy. The advice that I'm having from both sides here is we just need to take this up with the mayor. It's for information item, and that's the clear guidance that I'm getting, and I think that's fine. I undertake to do that with the councillors involved. We couldn't be clearer. So let's move on to our next item, which
Councillor
is,
Fletcher had a hand up.
yep, that's just, it is. So well, hang on, we just need to, just for safety's sake, so which one are you doing there? The information, yep, so we're moving council, no, we're just moving the acceptance of these, that we received the report, myself and councillor Filipaina, and then we're moving on to the next item, which is the confidential
You
item.
haven't put it.
And,
You haven't put it.
oh, sorry.
I'm
All
not
those
going to
in
vote
favour,
for it.
please
I'm not
say
receiving
aye.
that report.
Madam Chair, I had my hand up.
Sorry, councillor.
Madam Chair, I do not wish to delay this meeting. However, I sit here as a councillor making decisions on the whole of the region, and I am sympathetic to the concerns that are being expressed on that count with regards to the Weed Advisory Group. If it is of any assistance to you in your discussions with the Mayor, I am willing to forgo my position on that group to enable councillor Walker to sit on the group. So I am giving that to you just in terms of an offer and assistance for finding a pathway forward.
Thank you, councillor Fletcher. Hopefully it won't come to that, but that's very generous. Okay, so let's move on to the confidential, so
So we haven't put it to the vote.
that's
Madam
right.
Chair.
I keep getting
I'll-
interrupted.
I'll have my vote
I'm
recorded
going
against.
to, well, I did put that, and we heard councillor Casey say no. Sorry, we didn't put it.
Didn't
I'll
put
put
it,
that
no.
again. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No, recorded.
No and no. And any other noes? Casey and Walker? No other noes?
Yep.
And Watson? Okay, good. We've got those. We're clear. Thank you, but it's carried. Deep breath. Are we ready? The exclusion of public, and we've got two issues to discuss, and they both concern the acquisition of land for open space, and because these obviously are discussing matters involving
into
purchase of
confidential.
land,
I'll
we'll do
second.
it in confidential. Moved councillor Filipaina, seconded councillor Fletcher. I'll put that. All those in
Aye.
favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And